everyone, and welcome to another
Good
Common
morning.
Room.
Cheers.
Morning. So, it's been a while since, well, not myself and Andrew, because we've hung out. We've been roomies this past week, but it's been a while since the three of us got together, and a lot has happened. Matt, why didn't you begin? Any major life changes?
Yes. The wedding happened just shy of a month ago. So in between here, we had the wedding, and then obviously we did the 2-week honeymoon, and we just got back about a week ago, and are starting to merge our lives. You know, there's like the technical merging, the financial merging, the merging actual living stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure out how you fit it all in different things. So, no, it was her and I were chatting. But first of all, the engagement period was just such a gift. So sometimes you hear some horror stories, sometimes you hear some things. Like, it was just a breeze, so beautiful, so wonderful. The formation that we were able to do, we kind of prioritized formation first over wedding planning. Good. And that was really helpful. So we had just the most incredible pre-Cana sessions. We did our own kind of books, and then just tried to make sure that stayed number one. And then the wedding weekend was just lovely. And kind of similarly there, we just tried to say, all right, the priority is the ceremony. Everything else will just kind of fall into place, to be honest. And whatever doesn't isn't the end of the world. You just got your loved ones together in an area. So whatever kind of falls through the cracks, not too big of a deal. And so that just went really beautifully. We were very fortunate. It was just when we look back, we did a welcome party. And that was just so much fun. It kind of gave a chance to take a little pressure off the wedding day, because I would feel more dissatisfied if it wasn't for the welcome party, because you don't get much time as the couple to just chat with people. Like, no. You're literally like 1 minute. All right. I got to go talk to this person. 1 minute. I got to go see this person. And so that welcome party got a chance to just naturally, organically have more extended out catch-ups and conversations with people you haven't seen in a while. And that really was just beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't want to scoop you, but I did post a picture of the three of us together for the first time in the same room, and that was that welcome party.
Did you do which one? Okay, so you got to do her favorite one. Is she loves us three at the wedding with the scotch, raising the glasses. She goes, "Man, you guys look great together."
Nice. No, I just posted the one from the rooftop. You know,
that's a fun one.
And then I had one of the two of you. You know, I think leaning on each other's heads, and so I didn't want to scoop you. Kristen was like, "No, it's their wedding. Don't post." So, but
honestly, the thing is, you can scoop. The key is not just to hold the scoop, because technically the people we end up seeing are all the ones that scoop us. You kind of do have to scoop. That's the way you get the couple's attention. You just kind of like, hey, we want to come say hi. And that's what ends up pulling you in all directions. And then you just recognize in the back of your head, you got about a 90-second clock before the next person comes and pulls you.
Yeah.
But it's good. Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Let's talk about the wedding itself, because there was some discussion as to who would be dry-eyed and who wouldn't be.
I have video of that.
I'll put some context. We actually just got our ceremony video, and the videographers did the most incredible job. They have like a classic overview angle coming from the choir, but then they had one camera right down the center aisle that got the whole altar with the people on the side, kind of like a parting of the seas, and the altar is white, and so the light was reflecting off it. And so we've got footage of like when the Eucharist is being held in the air. We've got just tons of different footage with us just kneeling in front. They did an incredible job with that video. Just came the other day.
What David's talking about, though, is you sobbing like a whipped dog when she's walking down the aisle.
Honestly, it was like the most, I think, David, I mean, you might be able to relate to this. The later you get married in life and you really are just trusting the Lord to bring that right person, you know, when it actually happens, I mean, actually, sorry, Andrew, you can relate to this too.
I was 50, dude.
Yeah. When it happens, you're just, so you had doubts along the way. Is this going to happen? Am I too picky? Is there not someone out there? Am I meant not to be married? Like, you have all of those thoughts for sure.
Sure.
You meet that person that is just the one, and you're like, it's overwhelming. And then it was just so beautiful when the way it was structured, the kneelers up front for us during all the kneeling. So then I'm just staring at this big cross of Christ and just honestly saying, you know, what did I do to deserve this? And then the Ave Maria, David, you might have, I don't know if you picked up on that. if you ever listen to it. So I wrote an article on Pints with Jack's website on the Ave Maria. And that was the song, David, that was a song from 2021 that moved me. And so she wanted to bring that at the end. It's the exact rendition. If you listen to it online, I'll probably use the Pints with Jack YouTube, because I actually messaged the composer years ago. You can actually see that. And he replied, and I might actually send him like a little video of that. So beautiful. So the ceremony, it was the second priority for us was, after our formation and the leading up to it, was the actual ceremony. And so she really prioritized trying to make that as beautiful as possible. And
wait, here it is.
I will say, I do not look good crying. My face gets all puffy. I was like, man.
But what was hilarious is I didn't even turn and look at Mary Margaret when they said stand up. I was lasered in on you. It was like, he's gonna cry. I know he's gonna cry.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
I wasn't sure if
it's only people dead inside like me that are completely cool. She looks pretty.
Well, I wasn't sure. Honestly, you there's so many moving parts. Now, thankfully, we did, David, you'd be proud. We had a minute by minute starting on Thursday, mapped out Excel spreadsheet with like 100 rows of where everyone's going to be and when they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. And so it was kind of autopilot starting Thursday, but
sure,
in fairness, the day of, you're still got some nerves and stress, not around the wedding itself, but just that everything goes off smoothly.
Sure, and, there's a lot of moving parts.
And so then you're just like, am I actually going to cry the moment? I don't actually know.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, that was great.
Actually, and then when I saw Mary Margaret, she was just like the figure of grace and calm.
Oh, she's gonna love this.
You know what wrecked me was when you went and took flowers to Our Lady, and I was just. I was done. I was wiped out at that. I'm glad that I brought extra handkerchiefs.
We had just finished a 33-day consecration, which is to Jesus, but just through the Blessed Mother. And so we actually tried to be intentional about, because we also had non-Catholics there and stuff, about like kneeling longer with Christ, because Mary's not the end, obviously. That was like an honoring, a reverencing, but not the same thing. And so we wanted to make sure that we, he's the end, he's the salvation, he is all of that. And so we wanted to be very intentional about that. But we had just finished the 33 days that morning. And so her and I snuck out at 7:30 a.m. They opened the church for us, and her and I had about 30 to 45 minutes to finish our prayers, which was just a gift too, to kind of have that be the start of our wedding day. And then we went our separate ways. But yeah, that's also why that was very moving. And I was just, the wedding video is beautiful. I was mic'd the whole time. I wished he would have, and I might ask him if he can do it still, turn down my crying. I don't know if he thought it'd be beautiful, but during the Ave Maria, you just hear.
David, we need to make a loop of that. That'll be Matt's intro, his walk-up music.
And rings.
Yeah, it was
But what about actually, one final thing I'll say, and then I'll let you guys kind of give some of your experience, because I'm just giving it from my perspective. David, your reading was fantastic. So the readings we chose, they're very gracious. We did not choose them from the book, and they approved them because they were.
It's an unusual reading.
Yeah, they were intentional enough that that wasn't just us picking them for like show. We chose a Genesis reading because we just thought the Genesis 2:24 is the most beautiful thing, the climax of creation being the sacramental union. But then we chose. Actually, what are the verses, David? It's 1 Peter, 2 Peter 1.
150.
I don't remember. Anyway, it's on the you'll look that up, but it's on the divine nature. And so the fact that C.S. Lewis, so our listeners here will get this, Mere Christianity, ironically, was like the biggest thing that got me into the concept of divinization, theosis, deification, because that whole like last part of Mere Christianity is about Christianity is not just a forgiveness of sins. It's not just, it's like a true transformation. I remember the first time I heard that, I'm like, not many people talk about what you really receive when you give yourself to Christ. It's like you start to become like him. You partake in his divine nature. So that idea was so beautiful. So I asked the priest, can we do that for our reading? And so then when we select reading people, I was like, David was with me in that moment back in 2017. And so, so the key line there is, where does it say the divine?
That you may come nature, to share the divine nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to share in the divinity of Christ. Like, think about that. It's a line that you would just normally kind of breeze over if you're reading scripture, but there's like a profound nature or a profound like theological truth there. And so anyways, it was really gracious that they allowed that. And then the Matthew reading, my burden is light, my yoke is easy. One of our toughest moments, not together as a couple, but we went through it together, both professionally, individually, was back in December, right before this beautiful Christmas weekend we had planned. So wonderful. We were so excited. She made an entire itinerary on Canva of our weekend, of our different dinners we were going to and different events and Christmas celebrations. And then she had something happen at work. I did. And it just literally, we both landed independently, hadn't texted each other. It both kind of happened in the morning. And then we were both like, just kind of crying and just like, man, this kind of sucks. And, then we were like, you know what, we need to go to mass. And then on our way to mass, I just kind of tell her, and I hadn't done like any prayers that day. I had no idea. I'm like, you know what, we just have to remember my burden is light, my yoke is easy. We're sitting in mass. And the gospel reading was my burden is light and my yoke is easy. And we literally look at each other and almost died. I had no idea. I didn't do the Magnificat or any of that stuff. I didn't know what the readings were that day. I just said that. So that's just kind of became our scripture verse for our life. And so she actually ingrained it on the inside of my ring. There's gold on the inside. She wanted my outside to be silver because I just don't want to be showboaty. But she wanted gold on the inside. And then she put 3 that's gold doesn't mean you're showboating. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean it that way. And she engraved that in her own handwriting. So she got to write it and they etched it. And then she put 3 rubies for passion and for faith, love, and charity from like the rosary. When you say that at the beginning. So anyway, that's the background. I'll pause. You guys got to experience it as like a receiver of everything. Just did you guys have fun on the weekend? What was it?
Yeah. I'm glad David made it in time for the reading.
Well, we didn't give him any guidance. Unfortunately, he just came in like completely blinded.
Well, and I mean, parking was crazy.
Parking was insane.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Plus, also, I have small children, and Alexander decided he didn't want to come. No, I stay here.
Bless his heart.
That was the final thing I was going to say. David crushed the reading. Like, crushed it. I'll clip the video for him and he can share it or something on YouTube. But
well, the funny thing was because somebody didn't tell me that when the wedding rehearsal was and that I needed to be there. But that aside, when I got up there, just the angle of the lights, and they had a folder with laminated sheets, and it kept bouncing. The light kept bouncing off there.
Oh wow!
I was just like the perfect height and the angles. But fortunately, I knew it reasonably well, so I just had to make sure I didn't slip into one of the old translations that I knew.
So I got a picture of him, but the microphone is right in his nose. But the new iOS, in the new iOS, it's got a cleanup feature. So I took out the priest and I took out the microphone. So sorry, priest.
I love that. The microphone is pretty funny to be blind. The original photo.
It's like, what an angle.
Yeah.
Made me chuckle. To be
honest.
Was
great. We had a marvelous time.
Oh,
yeah, we all got to dress up all nice and pretty. I think this is the we don't get to go on fancy dates often.
Yeah,
that's so great. You looked great. You both did. I loved it.
I think we've hit the key things that struck me about the wedding. Your lovely reaction to seeing your bride. Music was gorgeous. Yes, throughout.
Really well done.
That was her number one priority. She wanted. That's why she got the Scola, and the organ director really takes the music seriously.
Well, and then that Sunday, the next day, I preached at my old church where I was did field ed, and then Kelly and Jeff met at morning prayer at Oxbridge. And I did their wedding last September, and so we got a chance to have some coffee with them. So it was good relational tourism, which
it was wonderful too. The second I see Andrew, the day of, like at 2:00, it was wonderful. Put a lovely priestly blessing on my forehead, which was just such a gift to kind of start the ceremony out and kind of center me. So.
And I'll have you know, by the time I got to one of the priests, the rest had left. But before I left the reception, I asked for his blessing.
Oh, I love that. No, and then
I want to talk about the reception.
There we go.
Yes. All right. Yes. Reception. All right. Good.
So this is that was Mary Margaret chatting with Alexander. And Alexander really liked Marie's purse because it was shiny.
Yes,
these were the wives of the Pints for Jack.
Yes,
we gotta have a recording with those three without us.
The barmaids of Jack or something.
And there's little Lucy and Uncle Andrew.
Oh yeah, Lulu Bell. Yeah, those fans are great. I think I swiped one.
Oh yeah.
I have to send you, Andrew. Send me your address. I've
Okay.
washed twice actually to make sure it's good. Your handkerchief, that was super helpful. And I'll send it back to you.
Great.
In the mail.
Yeah, I think your father-in-law has one too.
Oh, perfect. I will.
Because your
we're going to see him
mother-in-law
this weekend.
Yeah, your mother-in-law said that she was going to be a wreck, and so I had like 3 handkerchiefs in my pocket, and one I used, but then she like signaled me to come over and give one to your father-in-law.
It was super helpful for me. I will see him
sure.
this weekend. Actually, we got a wedding that we fly out to tonight, so I'll grab that from him. And so if you give me the address, I'll get both of those in the mail next week.
Great, and give me yours because I have this marvelous Tasmanian Flex from Sarah in Australia. Not to transition from the wedding, but Sarah came to the conference and brought us Tasmanian whiskey.
I love that.
And I'm going to send each of you one of these bottles.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Sarah.
Now this isn't all that Sarah brought us. She actually got us 3 separate little samplers. But unfortunately, they were accidentally drunk on the last night.
Although we did
saving on luggage.
Yeah, we had them the last night. Just the podcasters, Jordan Duncan from Lesser Known Lewis and Joseph Weigel from Men with Chess. So we all sat out on the porch and had a pipe and shared a bottle of wine and drank some scotch. And so we drank your health and especially Sarah's health. We didn't care that much about your health. So
actually, I'm just looking at there are a couple more pictures from I should probably show. So this was at the reception.
Yep.
Or the welcome party.
The welcome party. That was the night before. Also, oh my goodness! I think this is the largest wedding party I have ever seen.
Right?
It's the tough part about. That's not a tough part. It's a great blessing in life. Having so many different seasons of life: high school, college,
sure,
post college, New York. One of those was my New York roommate. Lived with him for a year. That's my niece, by the way, right there. That got zoomed in too. She's so adorable the whole time.
Nice. And 3:01 p.m. is when the priest pronounced the blessing. So if you want to know when your exact anniversary was,
3:01 very helpful to know.
So, yeah.
Then the reception, and then honestly, go ahead.
We kept getting fanboyed, and so a bunch of the Pints fans. There's the guy from New York who was like, "I need a picture with the 3 of you."
Jeff. Jeff loves. Yeah.
To Jeff.
So Jeff.
Jeff.
The fun story there, guys, is like
Jeff. Jeff.
Oh, to Jeff.
Yes.
Jeff reached out to me years ago when I was in New York, 2018. Loved Pints with Jack, and he's like admiral or second command of the battleship in the Navy, and he came.
He gets to fly guns, big ones.
Yeah, he's a cool stuff. And he comes in for Fleet Week and sends me an email, and we grabbed margarita, some Mexican, and then we went and the next day kind of took me all over the fleets, which was fun and kind of behind the scenes. And we just kept in touch over the years and stayed good friends. And I guess he only lives now actually a couple hours away from me here in Virginia.
Yeah.
So he came to the wedding, and that was just really lovely.
But somebody else kept I came and got you that old fashioned. And so while I was waiting at the bar, somebody sidled up and I started listening to season 2. And did you get that too, David? Did you get Pints fans?
A few times, but more importantly, we got shouted out by the father-in-law.
Yeah, that's right.
I was worried. First of all, he crushed that speech.
And we do need to explain this. In nearly every speech, there was a C.S. Lewis quotation.
Yes. No, first of all, it's a blessing. My in-laws and her siblings are just wonderful. And you married the family too. So I'm very blessed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Very blessed. They're just incredible. But yeah, he like starts talking about listening to Pints with Jack. I think in the end he was referring to the after hours where we talked about Mary and Margaret. That's what he was, because they said they put it on the TV. He didn't say that here, but that's the one. But I got worried that he went back and listened to like a whole bunch of episodes. I'm like, man, my 2020 years weren't my best years of life. My New York stretch, I'm pretty vulnerable on this podcast. What is this guy learn? I had no idea where this was going. I was like, oh. Yeah, so it was just wonderful though.
And I was glad to see that those dancing lessons paid off.
Yeah, you did.
People will remember when I said you need to learn poetry and you need to learn how to dance.
Yeah,
we did one out of those two.
Yes. And honestly, I feel like I'm learning poetry. The 33 days to consecration, Morning Glory. We ended up doing the Louis de Montfort, so I guess I don't really call it Morning Glory, but it's a total consecration. But it's a bunch of litanies and Ave Maria Stella and the Veni Creator, and they're practically all poetry you're reading for the prayers the entire time. So that was really beautiful. But the reception,
actually, that was our wedding gift to Matt was we basically primed their family library with all of the books we thought they should have, and we made sure that there was Shakespeare's sonnets in there.
She was excited, and she's actually very excited for the science of food, because we're trying to be really good at hosting people at like not truly Michelin star quality, but like we want to do a very intentional fun meals where you have a couple over and it's not just like a basic thing, like you truly make it a time. So like get good at like 3 or 4 cocktails and maybe 5 really key things, and so. But no, we were really blessed. The reception, we weren't quite sure how the venue would turn out. We were very excited for the venue. We were stoked for the venue, but it's a different layout with different rooms.
Remind people where the venue was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mount Vernon Restaurant and Inn.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well, because we were afraid like the dance floor, it's not like a typical structure. The dance floor is off to the side and at like a different area. So would people get to it? But it allowed people who wanted to be in like this tavern room, which had a very bar feel to it, to just kind of chat and hang out. It allowed people who wanted to go dance to dance. It ended up working out, quite optimally in the end.
I got the whole dance, and I got a great.
All these videos. Did you upload all these things already?
Yeah. I shared everything in the shared photos. Yeah. So there's the dance floor.
Oh, so this was like, okay, so at this moment I'm like, when is our DJ going to transition to our actual dance song? So this was
so keep talking.
The walk-in, and it was, honestly, we weren't super intentional with that song choice. Here's the actual beginning of it. It's since you guys can't hear it, it's Bethel Music. We Dance.
Which is also a song you have mentioned on the podcast.
Uh-huh. We were just listening to it on an airplane. We're like, I think this should be our wedding song. And it just kind of made it in like the top 3. And then it was like, let's do it. Her wedding dress was stunning.
It is nice when those...
Andrew, I'm so glad you did this, Andrew, because we did not pay for a videographer during the actual reception, but he decided, they're wonderful Catholic people, that they were going to kind of do highlights. So we didn't have a dedicated one. And you can see here, he's actually doing photos, not video. So if it wasn't for you doing this, we would not actually have a video of this.
I figured that. And I was, because I'm an extrovert, I got near the front and I tried to get an angle where I could catch all of it. So, yeah. Oh,
it was so, we did about 5 lessons for that.
That's great.
And then my mom and I did one, and we actually had a routine, and then she kind of panicked the morning of, and she's like, I'm not going to be able to remember this. We're not doing it. One's not enough. And it was like, so then we had nothing. I had nothing to work with.
Oh, yeah.
So the video that we want, that we're trying to find who has access to it, someone does, and our videographer might have caught it. He hasn't dumped us with all the stuff yet. Is she did the song, "If you want to get with me, got to get with my friends," and she got really
Spice Girls wannabe.
Spice Girls, and she got really like a different alter ego came out of her, which was so much fun to see. And at some point, she's pushing me away, and I'm just dancing around to her, kind of like, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, that was the first time Alexander and I really got to dance together outside of the house, and he was
lovely.
He was hurtling around like a crazy person.
It was so great that like people like you with family and kids were the first to hit the dance floor, which is very helpful because about first 15 minutes it was kind of more sparse, and then the attendants started coming in the last like hour and a half.
And the champagne.
The champagne. The only thing, it's funny, you reflect on things. The only couple things we would have done differently. One, we couldn't control. The venue ended at 10, and we would have loved to go to 11. A lot of people seemed like actually wanted to continue a little bit longer, which was a blessing. We're having a great time.
But we had left because, I think we left at 9:15 or something because small kids.
So, we snuck out.
The party was over at that point.
Yeah, we snuck. That's when it got started. No. We just kind of snuck out at 9:45. We didn't do a send off. We didn't say goodbye to people. For us, it was nice to be done at 10.
Yeah.
You go back.
It's a long day for everybody.
It's a long day, and it was nice just to kind of get back. So
yeah, no, it was great. Mm. It was great. Yeah. And we had there was a gap in between the wedding and the reception. And so Kristen and I used that. She hit her favorite Hallmark store over by the seminary because we were about a mile and a half away from the seminary. And so we drove around the seminary and saw some of the changes. So we hit all the roads on the seminary and, just because we haven't been back together since we graduated a couple of years ago. So yeah.
That would be the one, actually, now that you say that, that'd be the one thing I would do differently. Everything really came together beautifully, and you can't rethink things. We couldn't tack an hour on to the end. Maybe just starting the reception at 4 and allowing, or 4:15, and allowing people just to go directly there and have like an hour and a half to socialize at the front end might have been actually ideal.
I will say we appreciated the gap because we went back to our house, got everyone cool again, and changed clothes. And
nice. That's actually
people had naps, big and old alike.
Yeah, that actually makes me happy then.
Good. Well, that wasn't the only big event that we've had in the last couple of weeks, was it, David?
No, not at all. It was the Undiscovered C.S. Lewis Conference, just a little south of Portland, Oregon. Andrew and I attended, and as you had mentioned, we had two housemates. We had Jordan Duncan from the Less Known Lewis podcast and Joseph Weigel from the Men with Chests podcast. So the rule was you could stay in the house, you just had to have a podcast.
And it was 5 minutes away from the venue, and so it was an easy walk. And although it was hot during the day, it was cool in the morning, and that was lovely. But I have never seen. I've been to a bunch of Lewis conferences, but this is the biggest by far. And normally you get one or two keynotes, and some maybe middling range scholars. But some of the top scholars in the world were just giving papers or chairing sessions. Diana Glyer just came just to bear witness. She didn't do anything.
So this
we spoke about Forge of Friendship.
So this was a big deal. Was this bigger than Montreat?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was huge.
Is this the one every year we're going to just go to as a group then?
Every 2
year.
Every 2 years.
Other.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully in 2026, when they have it again, I'm hoping to have my Till We Have Faces book out, because that's the 70th anniversary of the publication. And we had some great things happen at the conference that kind of cleared the path for some of that. And so,
I know you're going to hate this, Andrew, but you should, the latest advancements in the last couple months in the LLMs, ChatGPT 01 released yesterday is just the PhD level scholarship that they found. They just did benchmarks for it, just double to triple the previous models. The fact that you're the big danger of these things is people not scholarly think they're scholars. That's a problem, and that's what we're wrong. But someone like yourself that's a scholar can feed kind of data in that's 80% structured or 60%, and then have it format it, help you, and then just it's an editor back and forth that you can just move quickly. I found this with coding. If you don't know coding, you're going to make something that's 80 to 90% there, but it's not enough to be all the way there. But if it saves you so much mental capacity in a day to just, I send it debugging logs and it comes back and identifies exactly where everything is and tells me, and that's something I would have spent 30 minutes figuring out. Instead, it took me 30 seconds. And so my iteration speed is like 10 times quicker. And then you know how you have mental fatigue as you write a book, probably as you're sitting down. It reduces that too. It probably doubles or triples before you hit your mental fatigue level. So like I just share that as encouragement. I mean, what they were 6 months ago, 12 months ago. The problem with releasing the 3.5 earlier in March of last year was it was okay, but it made people like not realize how much advancements happened in the last 18 months. And so anyways, that's just encouragement. If you're trying to move fast and iterate quickly and like get something done.
But you're forgetting, Matt, you're a nerd.
Well, you could be my designated ChatGPT nerd for the book, but we got some big pieces out of the way, and grateful for Pints having a table there, which was right at the entrance to everything. So I brought a bunch of rare books, and that went really well.
It was his Screwtapian stall of temptation. it was hilarious seeing people come in and go, ooh. They'd look at it, see first edition, see the price.
Two questions.
But then they'd look back and I was like, you're gonna buy this.
And they kept circling back. And I mean, I think I probably sold 3/4 of what I came with.
No way.
But, oh yeah. No, it's the biggest sale bid that I've ever done. But it was also, I wanted people to, and Steve Beebe gave a great talk about the bodies of books and the actual artifact. And so then within 15 minutes after his talk, I'd sold $1,000 of the books.
Jeez.
But I wanted people to like be able to put their hands on a first edition and smell it. And I mean, I wanted it to be kind of a a library type of petting zoo.
Well, for listeners, like to give them encouragement if they're ever at something like that. We obviously know Andrew incredibly well. He makes a little bit as like a night, for his effort and his time for curating these, but you can trust you're not getting gouged. Like you can trust you're not, if I Google a first edition on some site, I don't know if this thing is marked up 10x that it should be. I have no idea. Yeah. And so if you're buying from Andrew, I
spend a lot of hours in the days coming up, just checking prices. And so like, I brought a collected letters volume 3. And I couldn't price it for anything under $400, and so I had mine at $350 or whatever. So, yeah, and I mean, I was grateful for that, for that bit of things. It certainly helped. But I wanted good books to get in people's hands, and more often than not, when they circled back finally after a couple of days, so many people walked away with a book that really delighted them. Christiana Hale just posted her first edition of Till We Have Faces, and I can't find it, but that was going to be my other flex. I got a signed copy of Christiana Hale's book. So I bought that at the bookstore and she signed it for me. And I got to meet Sarah Odell, and I got to meet a bunch of listeners and a bunch of scholars. And it was fantastic. And then
what was the
Alexander? Hi, Alexander.
Buddy. What do you have there?
Hi.
Bagheera and Baloo.
Yeah.
On a bench with Mummy.
So what was the experience from a Pints with Jack perspective? I'm assuming great exposure. You met some listeners, and did we meet any new scholars that could be helpful down the road for like conversations?
I've got content now covered for several years. There were so many papers given, all of them on real like just like one particular issue. So many of them were great. Like comparison between Prince Caspian and the Ennead. That was done by it was the father and son who were visiting from Turkey, where they're missionaries.
And they brought us Turkish Delight.
They did give us
Turkish Delight, and we had it at our table. So, and then getting to know Ruth Jackson was fantastic. So
this is what's.
Loads of great papers, and that's even aside from the keynotes, which we'll talk about in a moment.
This is what's really helpful to listeners. I know this won't make it on the main feed, so many might not hear this, but like the Patreon supporting, the bit that might be above and beyond editing costs. We use very strategically for things like this to help supplement some of this, because it is super helpful for curating content, for developing the relationships. Like we don't go to these conferences often. We don't go, there's multiple ones out the year. We do not go to all of them, but strategically picking some of them and getting exposure to the scholarly community is how we've been fortunate to have the after hour content that we get.
Well, we gave away loads of cookies and stickers and sold. Did you sell out on T-shirts or almost?
Yeah, they were all gone at the end. I gifted a couple along the way to deserving homes, but I gave away about 200 coasters. We had 50 cookies. That if anyone that was a patron supporter that received them in the mail, we were giving those away at the conference. So come back in 2 years and we'll be giving them away again.
Yeah. And then people from Romania, from Australia, I met a woman who came up at the last day and said, I'm from Finland and Early Pros Joy has been so helpful to me. And just, people from all over the world, people, of course, from the UK and all over the States. And it just was an incredible gathering. And I thought Jason Lepojarvi did a really magnificent job. So.
Also, can we just say, he is huge.
He's very huge.
I've only seen him in a little square or any picture. There's been nothing to add scale. I wanted him to carry me on his shoulder like Allgrey carried Ransom at some point. It didn't happen.
Yes.
Jason.
I assumed he was a normal 6 feet tall individual. Is he like 6'4"
or something? Yeah.
Or 6'5" maybe? He is tall.
He's very amazing. Everybody, and the only ungracious thing that he did is he left the mic up when he brought up
every time.
So everybody had to reach up and pull the mic down. So,
oh my goodness,
it wasn't that ungracious. He was marvelous and a wonderful host, and I feel for Gary Tandy, who wrote a book on Lewis called The Rhetoric of Certitude, and he has been at that school for decades, and the president, Robin Baker, who did a marvelous job, and he's been to a number of Lewis events, and he's a collector. He had some marvelous things, but for Gary to have kind of languished, all those years, and then to have Jason there and the C.S. Lewis Initiative, that was a wonderful time. And now that's a real stronghold of kind of what's going on with Lewis. So
Zane Zook. This conference. I'm actually going to get Gary on this season because he gave a wonderful paper on what makes C.S. Lewis so quotable.
That's me and Jason Lepojarvi on the day that they put the memorial stone in Westminster.
We should figure out going forward, now that we know that there's this centralized, incredible conference, one, just how we can integrate more, and two, maybe if there's a way to leverage our distribution channels, either through the podcast or the YouTube channel, to actually have a mic on the individuals or record some of these things. And if they're willing to, after the fact, allow this just to reach a wider audience of individuals.
Everything was recorded. So Ruth Jackson from the other C.S. Lewis podcast, all of the podcasters were working with her to lay out microphones and collect them back up again. So William O'Flaherty was helping, Jordan was helping, I was helping, Andrew was helping. So I think a lot of this will have been recorded. Perfect. I do think probably next time we will pre-plan it a little bit more and test it out a little bit more. But Ruth has got a load of material.
Didn't she say something about doing something with me on the podcast?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I forget what it was, like line up trivia questions or something. And I brought along some Thai food tea, which was Lewis's favorite black tea, and I tried to keep all of my Brits supplied with tea.
Oh, by the way, David,
I did the same with Yorkshire Red.
I was just at this conference. We turned around within 24 hours of landing and went to a kind of a work-related business Catholic conference with investors, founders, and startups. But I met the individual who does a production for Lila Rose's podcast, and I met another podcast individual there. And we started just chatting a little bit about distribution and stuff. And both were kind of talking about YouTube has changed their advertising thing now. So before you could pay to distribute things and then you hope that someone clicks subscribe. You can now, for pretty low cost, build your subscriber base. This is a lot of these big channels make their bases so much larger so quickly. So for $100 or $200, you can gain 400 or 500 subscribers. You're only paying for the amount of people that come subscribe, and you can distribute your content. And then that you can start doing the math of becomes future listeners. And they essentially the customer acquisition cost versus long-term value of a customer and stuff. And so a lot of these larger channels have done this. And so, if we ever decide that this is something where we want to do a little bit of try to build the YouTube channel up to a bigger base to get it closer to our podcast level. It was just interesting to hear that. Before it was like, oh, you pay for views. Well, those views can mean absolutely zero, and they might never turn subscribers. So we've never done any sort of distribution in any sense with that. And obviously, so anyway, just a tidbit of information if we ever want to try to turn the YouTube channel into something a little bit more a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. You never know.
Well, and we also have a standing invite, lovely invite from the guy from C.S. Lewis Daily, to do some stuff. So I'm sure that's on a Trello board somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Every time I look back at that, it's like, the list of things to do is growing even longer.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated, the coding capabilities of AI, there's made me think of this. There's a company that, a large company that is now getting rid of, they're like a $50 billion publicly traded stock. They're getting rid of Slack because they used AI to internally make it for way cheaper than they pay per year. And they're getting rid of Workday because they were like, we don't need this either. Because enterprise software has kind of been built upon the lack of engineers to build things and the complexity, and then they can charge these pretty high amounts. And I was like, whoa. That made me think of that because Trello was one too. They're like just built internally.
The machine isn't coming after my job. I'm too important. That's what I keep telling myself.
You're fine. Just I know you have zero fear around that. The people that are unfortunate are all the people that it takes years to get to your skill set. It's not going to be able to replace your skill set. It's going to replace a lot under your skill set that you then go and refine. So the junior engineer that writes the code that you need to go fix and integrate and all that stuff is going to be automated. The problem is it's going to be hard to get to your level now because the companies aren't going to be deeply incentivized to there's going to have to be some sort of training programs that can jump someone to the upper area and make them work with it because anyways, that's a side thing. But
so listeners, thank you for tuning into Common Coding Room at Pints with Jack.
Because I'm so deeply into this and with what I'm working on with it, and I'm looking at the tools every day and using them deeply. I'm like, just the progress that's happening in the papers I'm reading of just different ways to do things in every single month is unreal.
Well, and so I want to talk with you offline about that because we have a big project that kind of came to light and maybe getting some energy, and I'd like to be wise about. I still have some concerns certainly about AI, but I'll talk with you offline about. There's a big Lewis project out there that
happy to do. It could be fun. Our next common room, I bet people would actually find a deep intrigue. I know it's not C.S. Lewis, but just to hear maybe the morality of AI. So maybe that's the way we loosely connect it. I mean, the common room, we're allowed to talk about anything.
I think next time let's do an AI episode because I actually was playing this week with Solify. They tagged me on Twitter, and it's kind of like the professor that I interviewed who had set up a C.S. Lewis chatbot. They've done it for Chesterton, I think Belloc, Luther, and a bunch of other people. The results were a little underwhelming.
Let's set it up where remember the office where Dwight tries to beat the computer at sales? So let's set something up. Let's have a competition. I'll go against AI. I'll play Deep Blue.
I saw the output of that. If I had to put on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being leveraging all of the tools to create the most incredible system. Hard to do the 10. That's a 2. They probably just did a RAG system with an AI. Probably didn't even fine tune, to be blunt. Just did the RAG is just getting pulled. From the content.
Did a wrap around it. Answer this as C.S. Lewis.
That's exactly what they did. It's
super. And even then, it was quite short.
You posted a couple of things, and it just didn't seem. It seemed pretty anemic.
They'd be better off just
to Lewis, and so
they'd be better off just asking ChatGPT 4 without a RAG system the question because that has a better backend. I don't know what they did to make that bad because those questions were really low quality answers. Anyways,
yeah. So it was. They had a sidecar there, and they had goggles and scarves, and you could just sit in the sidecar with whoever, and that was fantastic. Ralph Linhart and Jock Peterson from Eastgate Creative. There it is. Is that you and me?
Yeah.
Lovely. The guys from Eastgate Creative with their new movie, The Forge of Friendship. They showed some clips, and Ralph and Diana and Jock and I are talking, and we're actually going to be at the Wade Center at Wheaton the end of this month, the first week of October. And Diana's doing Major in the Missionary, and we're going to do some filming and stuff. And so, and Steve Elmore from the Lewis Foundation, I think, may show up. And so it was a real kind of uniting of the worlds. And I think for me, especially because there has been some controversy and some kind of sidedness in Lewis studies in the past, it really feels like we're breaking into a new era of cooperation and working together. I thought Jason did a great job of integrating young scholars. He had undergrads introducing these huge speakers, and there were a lot of kind of folks in their 30s, 20s and 30s who were working on Lewis. And I've never seen that many young people and engaged, young people doing great work at a Lewis conference before. And so it was, I think it's a harbinger of many good things to come.
So, I got to say, David, we can stop recording and then I can say it, but so we did talk a little bit of AI. So what did you think of that response that I did on Twitter? Was that decent?
Yeah. Let's wrap this thing up because we're at 45 minutes, a little longer than normal, but we had some big news, so I thought let's let this run. Yeah. But let's the three of us meet up next week and we'll record an episode of Paralandra.
Absolutely, we will. We had some great stuff with all of that. If you're in the Orlando area, October 16th, we're having a Freud's Last Session screening and talkback. So you can just get a hold of me for more information on that. But what a great joy to spend some time with David. And we missed you, Matt, but we were glad that you were taking care of much better business. And we're looking forward to 2026 for sure.
I love it.
Good.
All right, gentlemen.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.